So here's what Simon Greer says. Put the common good first. This leads to death camps. A Jew of all people should know that.
I almost said no to this. The least I can do is sit and listen to somebody who I have hurt. How sure were you that you were going to leave here, assuming that you do, feeling better?
And I think this is true in a lot of things. I can't control what you're going to do. I could bring my best self and show you my heart. I want to put this behind me, and maybe there's a way we could do something good. And if I brought that to you with all sincerity and just placed it before you and you said, that's a bunch of shit, all right, well, I could still go home to my kids and say, I did everything in my power to be the best person I can be.
Let's welcome Simon Greer to the stage. Simon, you used to be, not that there's anything wrong with it, kind of a pain in the ass.
It's funny, this is like a crowd where it's cool to be a bridge builder,
Yeah.
but I didn't used to hang out in bridge building crowds. But maybe the worst part was that I demonized the other side to win. We simplified and caricatured the people we disagreed with. We were good, we were right, they were wrong. And they needed to be destroyed. I was a foundation executive, I was a progressive leader, I was a somebody. I had power, I had access, and it's gone. Like anybody who's lost a job, you lick your wounds and you hide for a while. And the crazy thing is, that rupture gave me my freedom. I found myself thinking, what am I doing? And what popped into my head was a character in the Passover story named Nachshon. Got to the shore of the Red Sea as the Israelites were fleeing Egypt, and as Moses stopped to pray, Nachshon went into the water, and it was only when the water came up to his nostrils that God parted the seas. What I thought about was, why did Judaism pop into my head?
Judaism is not monolithic. There isn't just one idea. This is the Talmud right here. You know, look at how many volumes, big books, full of disagreements and disputes and arguments. Under the surface, you can feel that there's a wrestling, and the tradition actually builds a culture that is based upon that.
So you'd call that a poorly wrapped gift to a certain extent? Right. I know this piece of your story. You also had an interesting or life-changing moment at Auschwitz.
So I was leading a delegation to Poland, and that's where my great-grandparents were from, and we took the group to Auschwitz, which is where members of my family were killed. And I mean, it's hell on earth for people who have seen it or been there. I was standing there, and they were telling a story about a brother and a sister who came off the cars holding hands, and the sister was taken to the crematoria and incinerated, and the brother put to work, and he actually survived, but they never saw each other again. And what I saw was my kids, a boy and a girl, and it was like an agony and a rage and a heartache that was too much to bear. And I literally, it's like frozen earth, December at Auschwitz, and I fell on the ground and I wept. And I was raised on like, hate them, hate the Germans, hate the Poles. And so I wept, and when it ended, like the sobbing ended, I felt this terror for my kids, but I had this crazy feeling that, raw feeling that we are bound up in the web of life, all of us, not just the good ones.
The one thing that made me popular was I was certain I was right.
I was certain too. And you were not a human to me.
Yeah, I know.
You were a caricature. And
you were a caricature to me.
it's so easy to just want to hate you. I have to admit that what I hate in you, it's in me in a little bit.
Yeah.
And what I love must be in you too. For those of you who don't know, in the Jewish calendar, we're about halfway between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. It's called the Days of Awe. It's a time when we seek to make amends, to ask for forgiveness, to apologize. And so I want to take a step here with you on behalf of myself and let's call it my team, the progressive team. I want to offer up some of what I think we need to apologize for. And then I want to invite you to do the same. I'm sorry for where I came up short this year as a dad and as a progressive. I'm sorry for the forgotten parts of America who have been losing ground and who we haven't paid attention to. And I'm sorry that we benefited from the political swamp that we should have drained a long time ago. And I'm sorry that we've added anger to a far too angry nation. What do you got?
I forgive you.
You're both winners, right? Your guy won twice. There's questions about how we relate to the losers in those elections, and I want to talk about that.
Losers. Simon is such a loser.
In this moment of deep divide in the country, if you had the attention of the American people, what would you say?
I would say you share this country with your fellow Americans, not your mortal enemies. Go find someone who you suspect you disagree with. Be curious about why they think what they think. And in the moment when they say to you the thing that you can't stand, reach out to them and say, tell me more about that.
We spent a lot of time together.
We have.
We've gone on journeys together. In fact, we're going to talk a little bit about what's called bridging the gap. We were there and we captured it all when there was 2 schools. That would have been 2020. There was 9 schools by 2021. There was 19 schools within 2022, and you just finished training 35 schools.
People don't want to communicate across lines of difference. They want to hunker down with their friends where they feel safe and secure and validated. Shame on us for not equipping them to do something different.
There is an implicit social fear to share controversial political ideas.
I had a hesitancy to share my faith because I wasn't sure if they would allow room for me to express my faith.
The skills, they sound basic. They're listening, providing feedback, and telling stories. But it turns out you don't learn them anywhere.
Simon's toolkit includes a lot of active listening and a lot of open-ended questions, and especially a lot of open-mindedness on the part of the person who is offended.
Listening, like we're learning with Bridging the Gap, is also about body language and like a connection in, are you looking in someone's eyes? Like, how do you listen?
I wasn't sure if telling my story was going to be valuable. It changed my life.
We have students who have said, this changed my life, right? Transformed my life. Well, that's not just because they learn like the building blocks of listening, right? Something deeper happened. We definitely have enough humility to know that we don't know what the end game is on this. We've seen the power it can have on some students. So let's keep building on that. I think about the program like an acupuncturist's needle. They put a needle like behind your ear and the pain in your knee stops. Don't know how, but that's what happens. And so maybe this program is like that. We're going to intervene here. It's going to unleash something, and that will have ripples that we can't totally predict. And maybe as the result of those ripples, we get a much more dramatic change at a much larger scale because we tapped into the right meridian. And I think that's probably grounded in like some deep thing I would call love.